Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Amazing Race Rewind podcast, the podcast where we rewind back in time to watch the earliest seasons of The Amazing Race for the first time. My name is Andrew.
And I'm Jill.
And we are here today with a brand new guest. Please welcome Carson on to the podcast. Carson, how are you feeling today in this moment about The Amazing Race, etc.?
I'm feeling great. The best episode I've ever watched of The Amazing Race.
I thought you were going to say of TV in general. That's what I was hoping for.
No. Ever heard of this thing called Breaking Bad? No, I've never seen Breaking Bad.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm excited to talk about. There were so many little bits that I think may be a bit tangential to talk about, but I have notes and big fan of the pod.
Okay. Yeah, well, that is a known fact. We will get to your history of with The Amazing Race in a second. But Carson, if you...
Let's go. Yeah, sorry.
That's fine. Yes, as Carson just demonstrated, if you go back under any of our Instagram posts, reels, whatever, there is almost always a comment from Carson there.
I'm a big supporter of the Instagram.
Always a comment. The thing is, it's like 3 likes and then a comment. And then it's always, if you click on the comment section, 9 times out of 10 is going to be Carson.
But yeah, so you're a big supporter of the Instagram, but what did you know about The Amazing Race prior to today? Had you ever watched it? Did you know the general concept of it?
My knowledge of it is that I think I had a pretty standard understanding, which is that they're racing around the world and they have little tasks. And other than that, I also knew the what the cards looked like for when I designed your birthday thing.
Yes, you did do all the work on, for those listening, my birthday was lovingly and beautifully planned and themed around The Amazing Race, and Carson did all the beautiful work on all of the cards for the tasks on my birthday.
I am intimately familiar with the design of the route info card.
That's good.
Yeah, so route info. From what I'm gathering, you've never seen an episode, but you're familiar with the concept and the format.
Yes, that is true.
All right.
Okay. Well, despite that, what were your thoughts on this episode overall?
Any standout teams? Anything that really...
For me, the standout team... Because there was such an arc with this team, and it was Terry and Ian.
Yeah.
Terry hates Ian, I think. And Ian, they just seem so dysfunctional throughout everything. And then Terry kind of comes back around when he fixes the car. She's like, okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. We'll get to the specifics, but you've definitely picked up on all the dynamics. You formed solid opinions. You got to see teams rise and fall all in the span of an episode.
Oh, there was a large fall from grace.
Indeed.
Yeah,
in this episode.
for half the teams, mind you. This events occurred, the likes of which we have never seen before on this episode. It was crazy what we witnessed in season 3, episode 5.
I know. Season 3 is really giving it to us, I have to say.
It really is. It's breaking barriers as opposed to 1 and 2.
Yeah. Well, with that, I don't think there's anything else to discuss. Should we get right into it?
Yeah, let's get into the episode. So, we are starting in Lisbon, Portugal, and notably from last episode, the teams are all very close together. So just for reference, Ken and Gerard, they're starting at 2:29 p.m., and Aaron and Ariane, who are the last team to depart, are only departing 25 minutes behind, which I think this is probably the closest starting point we've seen so far in the whole series.
Yeah, other than the first leg of the first leg.
Well, yes.
Yeah, first leg of every... Okay, you know what? I had to state the obvious.
Andrew, did you consider the beginning of the race?
See, that's what I was missing. I was missing the beginning, so I'm glad I had that pointed out to me. So
you need to be clear. If you are professionals.
excluding episode 1, this is probably the closest all the teams have been starting together. But regardless, Ken and Gerard are the first to depart. And I noticed only 2 teams have one leg so far. Like, it's only been Ken and Gerard and the twins.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but Anyway, they open their clue, and it is a riddle. That it's, well, not a riddle, but it's pretty unclear, and they're told to go to the westernmost point of continental Europe. It's clear, but it's not like go here, you know?
It's not explicitly stated. Yeah.
Yeah.
At one point, like they're going around and they're asking like locals, like, oh, what's the westernmost point? And like I forget who it is, but someone's being like shown where on like a map. And it's like, is this in England? I'm like, you're on The Amazing Race. You need to know this shit.
I guess the woman they were talking to, I think she had a British accent, but
She was British, yeah.
you would, I don't know, I just feel like based on the map and what you'd be seeing on the map and maybe, I don't know, the language of the map, you would have an idea that it's in fact not in Europe, or not in, sorry, England.
Yeah. I mean, and also I feel like just basic European geography would tell you that the UK is not the westernmost point. But yes, we've had these kind of clues before. They're kind of like scavenger hunty that aren't specific, like when they gave them a flag as their clue in season 1. And I think it's kind of like an old school Amazing Race signature, is to have them be a little bit more vague in their clues, which we appreciate.
It is kind of nice because then, I mean, with this one, it seemed pretty obvious. Everyone figured it out. But it is kind of funny when you get a team that, even if it's in the same city, they go to the wrong location and then have to reroute themselves. But here it was fairly obvious. Everyone figured it out. But there was a little bit of reshuffling in the teams in terms of who got to this location first.
Some teams decide to take the train to Cabo de Roca, which is the westernmost point of Europe. And other teams decide to take taxis. And first off, Andre and Damon, their strategy is they say, okay, we have no idea what to do, so we're just going to follow the Brothers Alliance blindly.
Also, since when, like, did I miss this in prior episodes, but Andre and Damon being called Team 911?
I think that was something new they started here.
Yeah, it was all of a sudden on it. I'd never seen it before.
Andre and Damon are blindly following the Brothers Alliance, who decide to take a train. And so in total, Ken and Gerard, Flo and Zach, Andre and Damon. So yeah, all those teams take trains. Meanwhile, Aaron and Ariane decide to take a taxi, and they end up in first. And I think we've discussed this before, but just like Amazing Race rule of thumb, if you have the choice between public transportation and take a taxi, take a taxi. It's always going to be faster, and like we've never seen money play a part.
But yeah, like the location that they had to go to was only 20-ish miles away from where they started, so it was not far at all.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk of people being like, guys, it'll be faster if we just drive. And then like they bring it up like quite a bit just in this episode.
There's a lot of driving drama, shall we say, a little foreshadowing there.
Oh,
yeah.
Driving drama. When Ian and Terry are in the taxi, they have like a tense moment. Like Ian gets like mad that he's not allowed to talk over her.
I know. They have so many tense moments. It like really makes me question the functionality of their relationship.
But yet they do well and they get it done.
But yet they do well. Yeah.
And maybe that's what a marriage is all about.
Yeah, well, or something. So anyway, like we said, Aaron and Ariane, they get to Cabo de Roca first, and this is where we see our detour, which is ropes or slopes. Jill, do you want to describe this detour for us?
Yes, so, I mean, as it sounds like, they reach a cliff at the edge of the ocean, and you can either slope, as in walk leisurely down the path, which obviously takes longer, we're not even going to discuss this, or ropes, which is rappelling down the side of, what is it, a 300-foot cliff or something like that?
It's large.
It is a large cliff.
I love the way that the host puts it as he's describing it. First of all, it's a shot of it's like a close-up of him just like in the woods talking about this. He's like, yeah, this one is scary, but this one's not scary. And that
is every detour.
They do this every single
episode.
episode.
One will get you there faster. Oh, it's so annoying. That's why I was like, we're not even going to talk about this time because it's so old at this point. But yeah, obviously, I think almost every team except for one, I think, chooses slopes. We'll get to that in a minute.
You mean they choose rope? Yeah.
Okay, or ropes. Sorry, yes. But as we usually do at this point, Carson, we just like, okay, we never asked you as well, so we'll get to that in a second. But Andrew, you and I, what are we doing here? I think there's an obvious
Well, it's
answer.
always got to be ropes.
And it doesn't even scare me. Like, looking at that, I think we could do it no problem.
Because I think the thing is with rappelling down a cliff, like obviously it's scary. You're only like hanging on by a rope, but you can just stare at the rock face in front of you. You don't have to like look down at the height you're at. You can just like focus in on the rock in front of you. You don't have to really face that much.
And you
visually.
can go down at your own pace. At your own pace. But Carson, we forgot to ask you at the beginning.
Yeah.
So, if you were on The Amazing Race, who would you take? Like, who is your ideal partner to take on the race? Friend, family?
Ideal?
Who do you think you'd be able to do this with well? Who would be your best support here?
I struggle. Not because I have to, like, whittle it down, because there are so many poor choices. There are so few good options, I think.
Just you need to think of someone who would balance you out really well and would be able to do the tasks that you wouldn't be able to do. Someone who could motivate you, or you could motivate.
Probably someone, because I'm not like great with heights. Maybe someone who's like someone who is less fearful than
Josh?
I thought Josh, but I don't know if we would mesh very well in that environment.
Josh, by the way, noted guest of season 2, episode 7, I believe.
Friend of the pod.
No, episode 9.
Episode 9, friend of the podcast, absolutely.
I do have this friend who I really haven't talked to in a while, but he was always jumping off stuff. He'd always be like, "Hey, look at this tall thing. I'm gonna climb up, and then I'm gonna jump off." And I was always like, "Whoa! If I tried to do that, I would die." And so maybe good old.
Okay.
Sure, yeah. Okay, yeah, full government name is Carson.
No, the issue is that he's dumb as rocks. That's another thing.
So you and on the race, which task? I mean, I feel like you kind of answered.
You could bleep out when I said his full name, but keep in him being dumb as rocks.
So with that being said, let's just say he's your partner. Are you going with ropes or slopes for this detour?
For slopes, like, I can run real fast.
Yep.
I could roll down there real quick, I bet.
So the heights are getting to you here. You don't think you'd be able to do the heights?
That's on one hand, but on the other hand, what the ropes task is the easy part of rock climbing.
Exactly.
Like, rock climbing, you're climbing up. That's the scary bit, because what if I like slip and whatever, and you're going up and then the easy part is coming down.
Yeah, so you just get to do the easy part.
In this high stress situation, I think I could pull through.
Because I mean, we even see Ian just flies down the rocks. He just
Yeah, he's crazy. The way he goes down, he's just like hops. He like literally bounces off the wall.
Honestly, like I said, you can go at your own pace, and it proves to do well for them because they get ahead. However, now I think we need to get to Flo and Zach because they arrive fairly early on. I don't even know how to articulate
Flo
this.
does not.
So Flo and Zach arrive, and Flo is immediately complaining and whining as she does. She's going, "I don't want to," but they make their way up to the top of this cliff. And Flo gets strapped in. There's this moment where she's like strapped in. She does like a test run, so to speak, to get a feel for it, which is just like on a little mild hill, which sends her into hysterics.
Dare I say actual hysterics?
I have a note here that's just, Flo really does not want to go down the cliff. What are you doing here?
And
that may have been a bit harsh, but...
Yeah, well, what was she doing?
There's a part where like she's trying to go down and she's like crying. She's in tears. And then Zach, in the most monotone voice, is like, "I'm scared too." It's like, okay.
I don't even know how to describe her emotions there. Like, she's obviously terrified.
It was like extreme panic attack.
Yeah.
Hysterics 101. She was going crazy.
It was hilarious. Like, I mean, feel bad for her, but it was hilarious for us.
Oh my god.
But no, because I know that, like, I don't think with this. I think with this I would be fine. But say, like, the skydiving task in in episode 2, that's what I would be doing. So I can laugh at that because I know on some level someone would be laughing at me in hysterics.
Yeah, absolutely. Jill, this could very easily be you.
I think I'm a lot more internal, though. I like to think that.
Okay.
Speaking of something that could definitely be Jill, previously, like as they're going towards the ropes or slopes, there's someone who's like running, and then someone's like, "Oh, don't sprain your ankle," and then they immediately trip.
That's Jill. That's John
Yes,
Vito and Jill.
that was Jill.
Yeah, that was Jill. So it was a real Jill moment.
I know.
Just for Jill's worldwide, that was applicable.
It's kind of a universal.
But yeah, just to talk about like the detour as a whole, because like we've seen this same task over and over, but I think it's just, to me, it was a worse iteration of what we've seen before. Because like we've seen this on season 1, episode 1, with like the rope swing, which was a lot more exciting, or the hike. And we also saw
There was literally a rappelling task in season 2, episode 2. It was the rappelling or the paragliding.
Yes, yeah, that also, which was a better iteration than this task. However, I think it was quite exciting due to Flo.
She definitely made the task for me.
Yeah.
What really made it for me was the crazy face cam they got going on.
They had the GoPro right up in there.
Is this one of the first times we've really seen GoPro-ish stuff on this show?
I can't say I've ever thought about it. I mean,
It's the first time I really noticed it, I'll say.
Yeah, I feel like they have in the past.
Yeah, that's true. I think this is just the first time I ever really noticed it because it was so close.
Another thing of note is Michael and Kathy are deciding to also do the ropes part of the detour, and Michael, like, so apathetically, he just goes, well, time to go off the cliff, I guess.
Yeah, he was like, I've been choosing the coward's route this whole time.
Yeah.
Can't be a coward the whole time. Gotta go off the cliff, I guess.
Like, he kills me.
There was Carson, you missed a task in, I think it was episode 3, where it was a roadblock, and the prompt was basically like, this person needs to know how to swim, and he chose to do it, and then after the fact was like, oh, I can't swim.
He was like, oh, wait, I forgot I actually can't swim.
That's awesome.
Just nothing phases this guy.
He seems so, yeah, man.
Which is great.
Okay, it was somewhere around here where I made the note, the amount of lower thirds is insane. There's like 30 every second of lower thirds. And something that I noticed earlier, Michael and Kathy are labeled as being Mike and Kathy. And then later, it's Michael and Kathy. And I was like, okay, where's the consistency? Maybe I was going crazy and that didn't happen, but I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess like with the lower thirds thing, I guess we're kind of desensitized to it because it is like literally all the time they're like telling you, oh, who this team is, what place they're in, what's going on exactly. But that's like something that I've never noticed at all, really.
For me, partially, I was paying more attention because I didn't know anyone's names.
Right.
And so as I'm taking notes, I'm like, okay, who was this? Who said that? Who did that? As soon as Mike and Kathy comes up, a second later, it's Aaron and Ariana. I'm like, I can't keep up.
That is fair. So, like, other than the whole Flo and Zach thing, nobody really struggles here, but we should add that the Brothers Alliance and Andre and Damon are kind of here at the back, so the pack is quite literally flipped. But going out of this detour is where things start to get a little interesting.
Oh, and one other thing is that when Terry is rappelling down this hill, Ian is at the bottom cheering her on, going, Terry, Terry, and she just yells, Ian, stop it! Which is really great for them. And then also Ken and Gerard, one of them is at the bottom, and then he's like motivating the other one. It says, just pretend there's a dozen glazed donuts at the bottom.
A dozen glazed donuts at the bottom.
Yeah. And then this is where they also said, you beat 911. Referring to them beating Damon and Andre at this, which I thought was a phenomenal quote. But after this task, they are told to drive themselves to a port in Spain to then take a ferry across the Mediterranean Sea to Tangier, Morocco.
Yeah, port of Algeciras, I think.
Yes.
Aaron's reading this after having completed the ropes, is reading this and he's like, I knew it. We're going to Morocco. No, you didn't.
How would you know that? Yeah, how would you
know that? Who do you
that?
know? Who's been feeding you information?
So, here we go. Teams are driving through the night.
They're driving themselves. They're driving themselves, too, if we didn't clarify that.
And it's pitch black. They're driving through the night. And we get this really weird, drawn out montage of teams getting gas, which was very curious.
It's like 4 or 5 different teams just being like focus in on the not gasometer. What's it called? The gas tank.
The gas thing.
Gas tank gauge thing. The thing that tells you if you have gas or not. And it's just very like, oh, let's stop for gas. I only have a quarter of a tank, which just very non-amazing race.
And they spend a lot of time on this.
Yes.
Are we diesel? No. Are we?
Yes, so we get to...
Meanwhile, so several teams are putting unleaded gasoline in their vehicles, and then the camera pans over to the gas cap, which has like big all caps. This is diesel. And they made quite a meal out of this. Like, this was a whole segment of the show of just like...
Several teams made this mistake. It was Aaron and Ariane, Kathy and Michael, John Vito and Jill? No, they were fine. Kathy and Michael, Terry and Ian, and...
Flo and Zach.
So 4 quite...
Half of the teams.
Half of the teams, and might I add, the ones who are quite full of personality, they're driving after, filling up on gas, and all of a sudden, their engines start stalling out. I think Aaron and Ariane start breaking out. They're like, oh my god, the brake's not working.
Yeah.
And all 4 of them are on different parts of this said highway, but they are on the side of the road.
Terry has had it. Terry has had it with Ian. Put the wrong gas in.
But the whole sequence of the cars breaking down one by one is so ominous. There's like these like piano tones in the background that are like just like horror, creepy.
It's like there's some sort of supernatural force that is killing their cars.
It's like do 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 do.
They were impure.
Yeah. And at this point I was thinking like literally what are these teams supposed to do? Because I thought
not Michael and Kat. It looks like Terry and Ian aren't too far from a gas station. I think Michael and Kathy aren't too far from one. But Aaron and Ariane, which, Andrew, this would not be you and me. They literally just sit on the side of the road and cry.
Yeah.
No tenacity. No drive. Where's the path? Well, no drive. Pun intended this time. But, like, they're just sitting on the side of the road, and people are passing by just flashing their lights, and they're like, guys, help. Yeah. What are we doing?
The thing is like, because all the teams, they couldn't have made it too far from the gas station. It's like Aaron and Ariane seem to be the farthest away from any sort of civilization, but
well, no, the thing is they just don't walk. They just stay with their car. The other teams all kind of walk back, so they're obviously not too far, but they just sit there with their car until the police come.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like they could have walked back, but they didn't. And they definitely took this the hardest out of all the teams.
Yeah, we should add that while all this is happening, the other 4 teams make it to the port of Algeciras and get on the 7 a.m. Ferry over to... What's the city, though? I'm blanking on the city. They get over to Morocco. But yeah.
During this, either Andre or Damon, there's a shot of one of them just with a huge flashlight in the car. And one of them's a cop, so that's probably... But, like, it was really funny to me.
The comically large flashlight.
Well, they gotta see. So teams take...
There's kind of, a couple different methods of resolving.
Trying to solve this issue. Terry and Ian go immediately back to the gas station, and they ask if they have a hose there. And this is, like, crazy. This is unlike anything I've seen before. So, like, the gas station attendant doesn't say anything, and they have this sort of, like, carousel contraption, like, behind with the desk, and they just like put the siphon in the contraption and just like spin it around toward him, and he's like, okay, thanks.
And Ian really goes full hands on here. He siphons the unleaded gasoline out of the tank, and like basically does it all himself and gets them back on the road. This is in contrast to like Aaron and Ariane, who the police tell them that there's an insurance provider listed in the car who they basically call and help. Michael and Kathy, I don't know if they get it towed to a garage and decide to stay in a hotel overnight.
So I think they broke down. They just happened to break down like near a 4-star hotel. So they're like, oh, okay, we might as well just stay the night here and then just figure it out in the morning.
Yeah, and their car gets brought to a garage. Who am I forgetting? The other team. Flo and Zach. They also get to a garage that night, though, and it seems like they get back on the road.
Which I don't know how they were able to do that.
But I mean, it's a simple thing like Terry and Ian. They just you get the gas out of the tank and you put diesel back in.
Yeah, no, I meant like how did they get to like the garage though?
Maybe it was just luck, or maybe they went
There
somewhere
happened to be one nearby.
called. Yeah, but either way, 4 very different methods.
Ian's fixing of the problem, I think, really reignited a spark in his and Terry's marriage.
Yeah, she was really loving that.
She was like,
Yeah.
oh wow. She was impressed.
But you know what? Resourcefulness, and not for a minute did they didn't sit there for a second and go, what do we do? Ian was just knew. He was just like, this is what we have to do. And that is what I respect
unlike
in the race.
Michael and Kathy, who just immediately are like, yeah, they're just completely complacent with their situation and they're just going to stay the night at this hotel and then just deal with it later.
Or Aaron and Ariane, who cry on the side of the road.
But I mean, at least Aaron and Ariane, I think they got lucky with the police coming. But they were...
Yeah, they didn't
true. Just like give... Well, they did give up for a second, but they were back.
They did get back in the game, yeah. So as we mentioned, the 4 teams at the front of the pack, which are John, Vito, and Jill, Ken and Gerard, the twins, and Andre and Damon, all get the 7 a.m. ferry out to Morocco. And then it looks... Who's on the 8 a.m. ferry? It's Flo and Zach and Terry and Ian, I think, get the 8 a.m. ferry, correct?
Yes. Okay, yeah. Flo and Zach and Terry and Ian, yeah, they arrive at the terminal, yeah, the next morning. So once they're in Morocco, they're told to find a travel agency to then sign up for charter buses, which are departing an hour apart. And the thing is, there's can only be 3 teams per bus.
Yes.
Yeah, and the brothers alliance, Brett plus Andre and Damon, end up getting on the first bus, and John, Vito, and Jill, due to a bad taxi driver, end up leaving on the next bus an hour later.
Yes, and they are taken to...
They're going to Fez and going to the old city.
Right, yes, and this is where we get our roadblock.
The roadblock, which the prompt is, this person should have a keen sense of direction and not so keen sense of smell.
That's me. That's me in a nutshell.
Yeah. As soon as I saw that,
relate.
like, something spoke to me that, like, this would speak to
I mean,
you.
I have horrible sense of smell, and I have great sense of direction. So, like, it just... So would you be doing the task, Carson?
I think so. I think
If you and name redacted were doing the task?
I think I have good direction. More than I would trust with him.
Sounds good.
Yeah, the elusive
and the
him.
thing, too, is... None of them really navigate. Basically, what the task is, we should iterate, is they have to. There's like the old town market, which is a bunch of like vendors and stalls and stuff, and they have to go through it to find a tannery where there's all these vats or like pits where fabrics are being dyed.
Yeah.
And once they get there, which apparently I guess they smell really bad. And once they get there, they have to sift through. Like each kind of little vat has a cloth in it, and if you move it, sometimes in 3 of them, there's a clue, kind of in the liquid. But no one really navigates on their own. They just kind of get locals or the kids around to help them. So the navigational part of the task really doesn't come into play, in my opinion.
I would have had too much pride to ask the children of this area to lead me. I would be too proud and just like look.
So you would get yourself lost?
Yeah.
I mean, do what you want to do.
No, it would work.
And just like go off on your own.
But the thing is, I don't think there's room for pride.
I'm sure Ian was proud when he got that car fixed.
he was proud in that moment, absolutely. But I really like this roadblock. I think it was a cool like cultural showcase with like the giant vats. I thought the vats themselves looked cool. I mean,
it's just such a fun word.
Vat. Yeah, you don't get to say that often.
We got to bring back vats.
No,
guys.
how's that even spelled?
Who's with me?
I don't know how we would bring that back.
It's spelled like bat with a V.
Instead of like.
Is it VAT? Is that how it's spelled?
I think so. I have no idea.
I feel like it has to have a fun spelling. Like it can't just be that.
I don't know if there's any other spelling that would work.
Can you propose a new spelling for the word vat?
Double T.
Maybe VH.
It needs to be one of those. It needs to be one of those words that like VAUGHT, like that you hear it and you think it's really obvious, but then it's not.
Sure. Yeah, we could support you on that journey.
I'm thinking maybe VHATTE.
VHAT. That's it. Or VAHT.
Okay. Yeah.
That's VOT.
VAHT. Yeah. Well,
No, I like VAHT. That's a VAT, and we're bringing it back.
All right.
I think that's an episode title right there. We're bringing VAT back.
bringing fat back. Yeah, you could say like what a vat is just like a large bowl like structure.
Yeah.
So you could just call like bowls vats from now
like,
on, maybe
it's something that
to start bringing it back.
It contains like liquid.
Yeah.
Commonly,
It's like, oh, I brought my lunch in a vat.
various kinds of sludges and goos.
Yeah. But from my estimation, there are probably about like 40 to 50 vats here. Do you think?
30
Yeah.
to 50.
Yeah, and 3 of them
And they
had
say, yeah,
glue.
only... Carson?
Sorry, I said 30 to 50 feral hogs. Don't worry.
I don't know what that means. Okay, so we move. So yeah, teams, as we said before, like children are getting through the market, and after this roadblock, teams are then instructed to go to the pit stop by driving to Borg Nord Fortress.
What a fun word.
I just want to say when Andre or Damon finds the clue, I just wanted to point out when he gets it, he's like, bingo, bingo. He's running around with his arms out.
Very excited was Andre and Damon, or whoever was doing it. I have no idea.
They only showed both their names. They're inseparable.
Well, yes. So just to go back, so the people on the second ferry arrive, and so this is
Flo and Zach and Terry.
Flo and Zach and Terry and Ian. Yeah, they arrive in Morocco, and they actually are able to get on the same bus as John, Vito, and Jill, which was crazy.
Well, good for them. Not great for John, Vito, and Jill.
No. Meanwhile, Michael and Kathy are having a great breakfast, and they're really, really just indulging here and taking their sweet time getting their car fixed and getting to the ferry terminal.
And
You're on The Amazing Race.
I know, like they've given to me.
This is a thought I had multiple times. If you really like actually on the show, you have the opportunity. Well, I guess this is only the 3rd season, so maybe it's not like a. But like you're on this show. Where's the urgency?
To me, they've given up.
Like,
yeah, well, and it's also just not about being on the show. It's about like you have the potential to win $1 million.
there are stakes here.
Serious stakes.
That's
but
not what they were eating.
Their instinct, no, they were not eating steak. Their instinct was to chillax this leg, and they paid the price.
$1 million.
And we should add that Aaron and Ariane do get on a ferry, and there's this scene of, or no, I forget it. Oh, maybe it was Flo, but I thought it was Ariane. Correct me if I'm wrong. I get those two mixed up. There was a scene though with one of them just like standing really like lonely on the side of the boat in this really like cinematic shot, and it was giving Rose from Titanic.
That's our second Titanic reference of this
There's
season.
been so many boats.
So many boats.
And there's been a lot of cars too.
Yeah, the people are taking transportation on The Amazing Race. So yeah, Aaron and Ariana, they're on the ferry by themselves, and Michael and Kathy are still behind. At this point, we're going to the pit stop, and we see that Ken and Gerard arrived for another first place finish. Carson, what was your impression of Ken and Gerard?
I was so happy for them in that moment because they have such a purely brotherly relationship. Glazed donuts at the bottom. Oh, see, now he's moving. You know, I think they're a fun bunch. They got on my good side.
Here's the thing though. Usually, I mean, like we said, they've won half of the legs up to this point, but usually the teams get a trip or something cool, and Phil tells them that they've won 2 cameras that they can enjoy after the race.
Not just any camera, mind you, a Kodak Easy Digital Share camera.
Let's Google
that they had to pretend to be excited for.
I mean, a digital camera in 2003?
Yeah. But I mean, who knew that this team would be so dominant? Like, at this point, they've won 3 out of 5 legs.
They're good at the game.
Which was completely unexpected. And I don't think we've had a team be this dominant before in winning a majority of the legs.
They're good at the game. What can we say?
When Terry and Ian get there, and they're like, you're number 6. They nod like they've lost an award. After the compilation of like 1 through 5, the team's being like, oh yay, and then it's like, okay.
No. They're holding on, Terry and Ian.
That they are.
But yes, yeah, Andre and Damon are in second, which is the best finish they've had so far, I think. So good for them. Derek and Drew in third. It was kind of a quiet leg for the twins.
Yeah, not too much.
I think the only note I had relating to them was just early on when I saw their lower third come up, and I just wrote down twin models. That's all.
To be fair,
Yeah.
the last maybe 2 episodes were all about them. Everyone hated the twins.
It was
Everyone
all about
wanted
the
the twins
twins.
gone. People were forming an alliance to get rid of the twins.
Yeah, which has seemingly dissolved. Like, zero speak of this alliance.
Or the editors are just not.
Twins are just like evil by nature.
This is such a
That's so
contrast
funny.
to our last
Yeah,
guest.
our last
who was
guest
a
was
twin.
a twin and was saying, like, oh, how great the twins were, this and that.
I'm anti-twins as a concept.
So after the twins, we have John Vito and Jill and Flo and Zach decide to all step on the mat together and tie for fourth. Who they seem to be kind of forming some sort of relationship here, these two teams.
We still don't have a good idea of John Vito and Jill as characters. The only thing we got from them this episode was that Jill fell, which as a Jill, I guess is very on brand for all Jills in the world.
I would say, like, John Vito and Jill, they're definitely the most boring team on the season right now. Like, they really don't have a lot going on.
And maybe it's not their fault. Maybe it's just the editors, or maybe it's just that their contestant or their opponents are more interesting than them. But they're good racers. Just not a lot character personality wise.
And then after them, Terry and Ian are in sixth, like we said before. And then we go to Aaron and Ariane, who have pretty much have been by themselves this whole leg, and they have no idea whether they're in last or not. And they arrive, they're staring intently at Phil, and they're told that they are in seventh and are not, in fact, eliminated.
They went from last to first to
They were in
last.
first.
They were in first earlier, and then what a fall from grace.
Yeah, and I think this is probably they really went through it this leg, so it's probably a good feeling for them, considering the way they dealt with the car troubles.
By the time they, like, in this, like, compilation, in this montage, when they get to the last team, it is now, like, pitch black.
But they knew it. You can tell they
Yes.
knew they were out.
Michael and Kathy are hours behind.
It sounds like they're not going to do long distance anymore. That's what you get from them, is that one of them is going to
Yeah.
have to move to be with the other.
Yeah, they really don't get much of a send off. They were just like, yes, we were ready.
The thing, Carson, their shtick was that they'd never been together longer than 5 days.
Oh, well, that's also, like, imagine going from, like, being in a long distance relationship, right? And now you're doing the Amazing Race. And that's the time you spend together.
Yeah, and here they are attached at the hip.
If anything, will prove the strength of a relationship.
But, however, I did do a little click-clack research online, and
You cheated. You're supposed to save that to the deep dive.
well, no, I stumbled upon this. Okay, they
I want to know, and I'm not going to watch that. So
Michael and Kathy, they did end up getting married and have 2 kids.
and the 2 kids,
Oh, wow.
they're competing together in the next season.
I'm sure, yeah.
that would be an insane season of The Amazing Race. Like Amazing Race
Legacy.
Legacy.
Legacy, yeah. I doubt they would make it on here because Michael and Kathy, they were like, despite Michael's not quirk. What's the opposite of like quirkiness?
Blandness,
Despite
squareness.
his blandness, yeah, his deadpan, they were a pretty dry team.
Yeah, that's fair.
They were pretty unmemorable to me.
He was like, I guess I'm going down this cliff, and then they lost.
And then they lost. And they didn't really seem to be that sad to be leaving,
They were ready for it.
which was probably evident with their move of booking a 4-star hotel. Probably after that moment, they knew they were out.
Yes. Well, that is season 3, episode 5. Next week, where were they going next week? They're staying in Morocco.
It seems
They
like
go
they're
to
staying
Marrakesh,
in
I think.
Morocco. Yeah. Carson, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything that you want to discuss that we didn't talk about?
I'm going to be doing some research of my own
Oh.
to see how Terry and Ian, if that worked out.
Okay, so you're going to be doing your own deep dive. You can't wait for ours.
I'll if you put that bit in the Instagram post, I'll see it.
Okay, well, we'll see if I remember that when I'm making my. I don't even think I make posts for the deep dive, but
No. But speaking of Instagram, Carson can definitely speak to this. We post some great content, so you're going to want to make sure you head over there.
Hell yeah.
Like, comment, Amazing
Let's
Race
go.
Rewind, and...
Oh yeah.
And...
It's kind of lonely in the comment section, so I would appreciate some more.
Yeah, we gotta get some more comments in there.
Yeah, Carson wants some friends.
Yeah, he'll be
If
there.
you see me around, if you see me in the comment section, on the streets of the comment section, don't be afraid to say hi, ask for a picture, you know. I'd be more than happy to talk with my fans.
And if you want to talk to us or send us some stuff for the deep dive that we mentioned or just anything in general, send us an email, amazingracerewind@gmail.com. We are pretty punctual. We get back to people very quickly. But yeah, thank you for joining us, Carson. It's been great.
And we'll see you all next week for episode 6.
Bye.
Bye.